Welcome to the Agronomy and Farm Management Podcast. I'm Amanda.
And I'm Elizabeth. Thanks for joining us today.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Agronomy and Farm Management Podcast. We have a returning guest with us, Dr. Osler Ortez. Welcome, Dr. Ortez.
Thank you, Amanda. Thank you, Elizabeth. Happy to be back.
Can you share with folks what your position is with the university?
Excellent. This is my fourth year at Ohio State. I joined in January 2022. That was my very first spring here in Ohio. My position is looking into corn and alternative crops. So corn really keeps me busy. Alternative crops, not so much yet. My split appointment goes from research, extension, and teaching as well. So quite a bit of all those three across the state.
Yeah, you certainly do keep busy. We're glad we were able to nail you down for this podcast because we're talking about something that is in its third and final year. You guys had a big social media push with this project. It was a lot of fun to see those videos, and it's been really interesting. So I'm glad we get to share it with our listeners. And what we're talking about is the Battle for the Belt project. So you and Dr. Lindsey are having a bit of a competition. Is that right?
That's the competition. Yes, year three, open going. We have Lindsey on the soybean side. We have Taylor Deal. She's actually using two hats, one for corn, one for soybeans. And there is me advocating for corn.
And so at the end of the day, you guys are trying to, through research, answer one of our big questions. What is that question, Osler?
Which crop do we plant first?
And I feel like this year that is maybe a more important question than usual.
Yeah. That's a good point. And as I was reflecting before getting started here for today's talk, this is my fourth spring in Ohio, and it has been typical to just drive across the state and see water standing in fields. Field saturation, surplus moisture. So it really is the question. And I have seen it myself for the last 4 springs now, just getting too much moisture at the wrong time and really pushing things one way or the other. So this project is trying to address that question. Okay, if I can go out on May 1st or April 21st, or whatever that is, which crop should I really prioritize in terms of maximizing yield and productivity?
Yeah, Elizabeth, you hit it when you said this year, because that's something that I've been hearing a lot of. Like, we typically plant soybeans first, but we just had this perfect window for corn. Or a lot of folks are still sticking to or seeing that trend and moving maybe to soybeans if you're planting earlier, but we just had these windows. So this is exciting to do this research and really put some statistics to this decision that farmers are wrestling with, and they continue to wrestle with as they see what ground conditions are, see what the forecast is going to maybe bring. Those sorts of things all impact that decision. Where do you want to start? We want to talk about the planting dates, maybe talk a little bit about how you've laid this out over the last couple of years.
Absolutely. Yeah, let's go there. So part of the motivation of this work was planting date is a key management decision factor, right? When it comes to farm productivity, cropping systems. So if we look at the literature and try to estimate what kind of losses do we have by planting late, we have estimates out there that are available. When we think about soybeans, if we are planting after the end of April, we can be losing approximately half bushel per acre per day. Moving that into corn, that's 1.75 bushels per acre per day, the same if we are planting after the end of April. So let's say it's almost 2 bushels for corn. If we are planting 30 days after the end of April, that's already can translate pretty well to 50 to 60 bushels just by planting corn on May 1st versus planting corn on June 1st. So the yield penalty is there in most cases under typical conditions, which we no longer get those very often anymore. But that's the potential, that's the yield potential that we are missing out by delaying planting. Something else that we know and we see it, as we already discussed it, our planting window seems to be getting smaller. We don't have as many workable days in the field because it's too wet or it's too cold. So we are really working here on a narrower opportunity where we need to make this critical decision. If I go with my corn first or I go with soybeans first. So planting date is key. We know that, and that was really the motivation to start developing and designing this project between corn and soybeans. The first year was 2023. We repeated the work in 2024. And in addition to planting date, we are also asking ourselves, what other management practices can we adjust when it comes to in conjunction with planting day decisions. So those are management practices. In the case of corn, we are looking at different relative maturities across a wide range of planting dates. In the case of soybeans, we are looking at different seeding rates across a wide range of planting dates. And by the way, these fields are planted side by side. So we wanted to have true comparisons as much as possible. We have 5 planting dates for each of the crops, and we are doing the work at our 3 main research stations, Western in Clark County, Northwest in Wood County, and Northeast in Wayne County, the Worcester campus. So the same work is happening at those 3 places. The planting day windows that we are evaluating already year 3 now is ultra early planting. We try to start as early as late March or early April as possible. We have our second planting date looking at mid to late April window. Normal planting date is what we typically do in Ohio or what we typically recommend. That's early to mid-May. And our fourth planting date is from late May into early June. And finally, we have a very late planting window that we are also pursuing, which is from mid to the end of June, mid-June to late June. So those are our 5 planting day windows, all the way from late March into late June. That's quite the window, by the way. And if we think about those 2 bushel losses in corn and half bushel losses in soybeans for every single day after the end of April, that can add up to quite a bit. And so far, we have been seeing it.
So you mentioned you're looking at a couple of different factors. Beyond that yield loss, what other things are you seeing at play in your results so far?
That's an excellent point. Yes, productivity and grain yields has been one of our main drivers, but at the same time, we are also looking at how other concerns might arise depending on those planting dates, because it's a big window, and no matter what, it also imposes a lot of other layers that can add a little bit of complexity to the decision making. For instance, herbicide programs, right? If you are planting corn in the first week of April versus first week of June, the program, the herbicide management program can look very different from that perspective. Something that we have been doing very intensively, or perhaps more intensively, is looking into disease samples, disease data collection. We have partnered with Pierce Paul, for example, in the case of corn, and they are doing some tests of mycotoxins in grains. We are also looking at tar spot, how these planting dates can influence the occurrence of those pathogens. And there are some interesting dynamics that are going on. We are yet to summarize a little better, but what we can say right now is yes, there are different trends. There can be more disease if we are planting early. There can be more disease if we are planting late. And let's remember, a lot of this ties back to the environmental conditions. If we are planting in early May and it's wet versus late May and it's dry, right there we are creating a different environment for those other subsequential factors that are being evaluated. So yeah, those are some of the things that we are looking at. Another point that I haven't mentioned yet is crop insurance dates. I mentioned late March to late June. Well, that's us on the research arena, right? We can push the envelopes. However, on the crop insurance side, we need to be mindful that we don't want to be planting corn or soybeans before the earliest approved date for the state of Ohio. More specifically for corn, for instance, Northern Ohio, we are looking at April 10th. In Southern Ohio, we are looking in April 5th. So those are the dates, those are the earliest approved dates to get planting and crops protected through insurance. We don't want to be earlier than those in order to be compliant. On the opposite end, for corn, late planting periods is the last I checked, they were listed for June 25th. So we shouldn't be at the farm scale. We shouldn't be planting corn after June 25th. We have done it as needed. Again, just trying to pursue our research questions, but crop insurance is a factor that will tell us a little bit more about what kind of window should we be really looking at.
Osler, you mentioned these 5 planting dates, and you also talked about how our planting window is shrinking. I think last year in Madison County, 80% of the fields were planted in a 7-day window. So how difficult has it been for you to hit these planting windows over the last couple years? Of course, you're halfway through this year too.
That's a great question, Amanda. And yeah, we have our goals, our wishes, our windows, but we are not able to hit them all the time. We do a lot of the work with our farm managers, and so far in the last 2 years and a little bit of this year, we are already planted across all sites for the first set of treatments. I would say we have been hitting those targets for the most part. Let's say 60, 70, 80% of the time we are on target. 20, 30% of times we are off target, meaning we couldn't plant in March, we couldn't plant in April. Just to give you an example, Northwest Ohio, I believe, if I remember properly, last year we were able to plant only in May. That was middle of May was our first planting date when we wanted to do late March. So that's, I mean, the same challenges that we see out there, we see it on the research side as well, because it is another thing. We are not trying to just plug in seeds and into the ground and get compaction issues and that kind of thing. We are not doing that. We are getting things planted as conditions allow. If it is too wet, we will hold off, just like a farmer would.
I think that speaks to when farmers are frustrated they can't get in the field, often we feel the exact same way about our research.
Exactly.
Yeah, we're equally as frustrated as you guys these last few weeks. I think one of the real key places that these later planting dates can be informative is around helping farmers make replant decisions. We sound crazy when we talk about planting in late June and maybe into July, but how is that meaningful to farmers when they get those results?
That's a very good segue. And actually, I was planning to touch base on a brand new project that we are starting this year. Replant decisions. Yeah, that has a lot of implications with these planting date ranges that we have been doing. And as a matter of fact, in the last 2 years, early planted corn, early planted soybeans, we see that our stand establishment struggles more than when we are planting in May, late May, or even early June. Early June, we get a crop established very nice and fast. In early April, we are really slow. We have other things that are at play. So the replanting point is really there. And because we have seen it, we have struggled with it in the research side of things. We saw the opportunity, Amanda and Elizabeth, we saw the opportunity to launch and explore replanting decisions as a research question. We are still doing planting date prioritization for corn and soybeans. We are in the final year right now. And this year, 2025, we started a brand new project where we are looking at that exact question, replanting decisions for corn and soybeans. How low is too low of an stand? We have seen soybeans with very low plant populations still yielding 50, 60, 70 bushels to the acre as long as that stand was established early. Early meaning first half of April, as opposed to a very high plant population that was established in the middle of May. The lower plant population from April may have advantage over the high plant population from the end of May. So we saw that through the planting date work, and we wanted to test more specifically, try to develop thresholds, identify thresholds, not only for soybeans, but also for corn. So this new project, we have also locations in Western Ohio, Northwest Ohio, and Northeast Ohio. And we are looking at a wide range of seeding rates for those two crops. We have seeding rates of corn ranging between 16,000 to 40,000 seeds per acre. On the soybean side, we are looking 40,000 and as high as 200,000 seeds per acre with treatments in between. So what we want to establish here, number one, identify those thresholds, what those thresholds are. There is literature out there. There are results from other states. In many cases, results date back 10, 20, 30 years. We want to bring new information and also results that are more specific and applicable to Ohio and our region. So identifying those thresholds will be important. With that, we want to develop some sort of decision support tool where we can look at productivity potential with replanting scenarios versus low plant stands in an early planting scenario. We will try to put some numbers into that. And finally, knowledge dissemination. That's our third goal for this new project. Knowledge dissemination through extension programming. We are already, this week, actually, we are launching this project on our YouTube agronomy channel. There will be an article that is coming out as well, outlining some of what I just said about the project. We are excited with this new opportunity, and we are hoping that we can contribute to those challenging decisions that our farmers and our farming community has in Ohio year after year.
That's great. Looking forward to seeing that information. So to wrap up, what have you found so far? Should we plant corn or soybeans first?
That's probably the question will depend on the year or the answer, I guess. You can have the same question every year. and perhaps I might come back to you with a different answer depending on the year. So far, corn and soybeans well, I will focus my answer on last year results 2024 and what we were able to see. Well, for the corn side, of course, we have seen a relative maturity interaction with planting dates, right? If we are planting early, we are benefiting from longer relative maturities in most cases, regardless of where we are in Ohio. The Western station located further south is giving us even a stronger result for those longer season hybrids. If we are moving north in the state, it gets not as strong, not as marked that relative maturity effect, but it's still there. If you are planting for whatever reason corn in the first half of June, we see the benefit of adjusting relative maturities going from 115 days perhaps to 107, 105. Those are the things that we have tested so far. That speaks about corn by itself. Now, when we combine the question of corn and soybeans, 2024, to be honest, soybeans had a very strong start when they were planted early. Okay. Corn had a little bit of a slow start when corn was planted early on that first date, whatever it was. It could have been early April, it could have been end of April. So soybeans had a stronger start, corn was a little softer. However, whenever we are on the end of April and 1st of May, we see that corn will benefit from that priority. In other words, soybeans can take an early planting and still yield pretty strong, but corn cannot. So we are documenting that. We need to practice more precaution on corn, on pushing corn too early. So if we are left with the decision, we only have one planter, we can only be out there at one point. We are seeing that soybeans will benefit from that earliest planting window and pivoting to corn when the conditions are fit, usually end of April, early May, and then going back to soybeans after corn acres are completed. So that's what our data is supporting so far, and we see the rationale for that, and we support that up to this point based on 2024 results.
I think that's really helpful and a good place to land here at the end with the weather we've had and the challenges we've had this spring. Continue to be patient and wait for those good days to plant your corn. And Laura's not here to defend herself, but maybe on those borderline days, throw in your soybeans when you get a chance.
Absolutely, absolutely. There is the plant plasticity component. Soybeans branches, they do compensate. They help compensate those losses. In corn, not so much. If you have less plants, you have less ears and lower yields. So really, borderline days are okay with soybeans. They are not okay with corn.
Well, hopefully later this week, I hate to say it out loud, but we have some dry conditions where folks can get back in and plant some of that corn. So
we very much hope so. Yeah, hopefully better weather conditions here in the coming weeks. We are still first week of May, so there is plenty of May left, but the sooner the better if conditions are fit.
So Osler, where can folks find information from you if they're looking for some of this research past or upcoming?
Excellent. So the main places for this information, we have a lot of content already going on this project, and also we are already generating content on the new replanting project. Main places are the OSU Extension Crop Observation and Recommendation Network, our corn newsletter, how we call it for short. Those results are coming through that. We also have a lot of videos and content that are being published through the OSU Extension Ohio State Agronomy YouTube channel. So if you are not subscribed, please look that up and subscribe. Hopefully we can put a link maybe below with the notes. And also Laura and myself, we try to do some of the results dissemination through social media, Twitter, now X. So those will be the three main places where our results are coming out, and that's the plan moving forward.
Awesome, Osler. Thanks for your time and best of luck with your research this growing season.
Thank you, Amanda. Thank you, Elizabeth.
Thanks for listening to the Agronomy and Farm Management Podcast. Join us again in 2 weeks for our next episode.
Hey, podcast listeners. Just a reminder to give us a like or subscribe so you know when we release new episodes. If you're enjoying the podcast, be sure to leave us a review also. We appreciate the comments.